If you want to find Wonderkids in your Football Manager save, then this video is for you. Whether you're 1 year into your save with real life players as Wonderkids, or you're 10 years in and you only have new gen players, all of these methods will work. There is 7 to 8 different methods in this video, some of which you might have thought of, and some I can nearly guarantee you won't be using, or at least not using to their full potential. That's right, today we'll be giving you a foolproof guide of how to find these Wonderkids in your save. Hopefully you will find this video useful. I'm pretty certain you will, and if you do, then please go ahead and smash that like button for us. It really does help us out here on the FMSCOUT channel, and subscribe if you haven't already, with daily Football Manager content, everything from tactics to tutorials to Wonderkid showcases. Why not hit that subscribe button and comment down below the method you use to find Wonderkids in your save. Last year we did a version of this video. We got plenty of comments on that one, and we were actually using some of those methods from the comments to showcase to you guys today. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Just to lay the ground rules before we get into method number 1, just to let you know, we are 5 years into this save right now as manager of Union Berlin, so most of the Wonderkids in this save, if not all, are going to be new gen players, but all of these methods will still apply for you guys whether you're in season 1 or season 10 of your save. Now if you do want to check out more of this Union Berlin rebuild, you can find it on my channel, which is linked in the description down below. We're trying to get 30k subscribers over there by the new year, so any support will be hugely appreciated. But yes, method number 1, we'll start off with the most obvious one, the one I imagine most of you will do, and also I suppose the most realistic method of all, and that is just setting up a recruitment focus and asking your scouts to look for Wonderkids. I'm going to cover this very quickly because, like I say, I think most people will know this, and we've done full videos about scouting beforehand, but basically you're going to go ahead, you're going to tick this button here that says any, and then any position from tactic, and call the recruitment focus Wonderkids, or whatever you want to call it. You're then going to set some parameters, and what this will do is your scouts will go out and look for players that fit the bill of these parameters and bring them back for you, which is going to be the easiest way of finding Wonderkids. Now if you're looking for Wonderkids in particular, I would suggest maybe lowering this current ability down a little bit and going for a little bit higher of a potential ability under the age of, let's say, 18, 19, 20, whatever you want to set your criteria as. Now you might want someone that's a bit more ready for the first team. You can adjust the current ability rating as so, and maybe you only want to find the best of the best Wonderkids, and to do that you can select your minimum potential ability to be a little bit higher. In terms of the area, you can just ask them to do anywhere basically, or if you want to focus in your scouting, you're more than welcome to. Say you want a German player in your team because you need German players for registration rules, you can send your scouts to Germany, but if you leave it blank, these scouts will just go around the world and look for players, in this case for a couple of weeks, but if you change it to ongoing, which I suggest, your scouts will go through and do this recruitment focus forever really, and just keep finding players as the years go by. This is the simplest way to find Wonderkids if we're talking about a realistic method where your scouts would go out and do it for you, and it's also the one that requires the least hands-on effort. Once you've set this up, you hit confirm, and that is going to exist there as a recruitment focus, and over time our scouts will go ahead and return some options. For example, there's this guy from Portugal who already fits the bill, but now they'll go out and look for some more players. So that's the most obvious method, but let's move on to method number 2. This one is especially good if you're trying to get new gens as soon as they develop into your game before anybody else gets their hands on them. This can be a great way to get these players before the big clubs become interested, and it's a method that's existed for years in FM, but I think is less and less used as the years have gone by. But to find this, you want to click this world icon here, which really, if you're not using this method, you're probably never really clicking this. Then you're going to go ahead to the world section yet again, you're going to go to transfers, and then in the transfers section we're going to hit this and go to youth intake. What this is then going to do is bring back every single player that has been generated in this save via a youth intake in a certain time period. How this works is every single season each nation will get their youth intake. For example, if you're managing in the Premier League, it tends to be you get your youth intake later towards the end of the season, but for every different area of the world, their youth intakes happen at different times. For example, these are our Colombian sides, I want to say. Are they Colombian? Yes, they are. It looks like their youth intake is on the 17th of January, so every year on the 17th of January, some Colombian players will be generated. If we scroll further down, you can see the Norwegian youth intake is in the early parts of February, and if you keep an eye on this every few weeks or so in your FM save, you'll be able to see all of the players that are being generated in your game. Now from here, there's two things you can do. Firstly, you can go ahead and just scout everyone that comes through. You could also filter it if you want specific nations. If you know you're unlikely to get a Wonderkid from Afghanistan, you can untick that and you can narrow it down just to the nations that you want. That's not to say a club in Afghanistan couldn't produce a good young player, it's just less likely that they would. So you could just go out here and look for the teams that you know have a good chance of producing some young stars, whether that's Penarol, Liverpool FC, Rosenborg and only scout those players, or like I say, you can go ahead, right click and scout plenty of players at once. The reason this method is so good though is if you act fast enough, you can actually get these players often when they're still on a youth contract and get them for a cut price deal. For example, our most recent youth intake player that's came into the world of FM here was in the late parts of April for a player at Colón in Argentina, Nicolas Cardoso. Now there's a good chance he is still on a youth contract, which he is, and that means you can go ahead and forgo any kind of transfer negotiation for this player. You can just offer him a contract. It's up to him if he wants to join. As you can see, due to some registration rules, he won't be able to join and therefore doesn't want to. But this is a way you can find players early on before the big clubs get their hands on them. Obviously though, that requires a lot of effort and a lot of time to go through regularly and check these youth intakes, but there's different methods that require a lot less effort that can be equally as beneficial, and one of those I love to do, one of my favourite methods I always talk about, we spoke about it last year, is to go to the youth teams of specific nations that you know can produce good Wonderkids. For example, we could go to the England national team and search in all of their youth squads for any kind of talented players. You could either scout all of them, or you can look for the players that are particularly young in these high squads. For example, a 16-year-old in an under-21 squad is probably quite a talented player. The problem is though, those English youngsters are going to be quite expensive. The same with German youngsters, Spanish youngsters on a lot of occasions, and Italian. So what you can do instead is look for those nations that might have some bargain Wonderkids. Let's take Colombia, for example. We came across some of their youth intakes earlier. You know you're going to be able to find more bargains in the Colombian divisions than you would in the English league. So you can go ahead and check their senior squad for any kind of particularly young player. For example, there's an 18-year-old in the Colombian national team already. He could be worth a scout and is only valued at £1 million. You can then go to their under-23s, again, scout all of these players, see which ones look good, and I mean straight away we found players here that are wanted by some of the biggest clubs in world football for really cheap fees. So this is definitely a good thing to do. Check some national teams out, check their youth teams, and you'll find some great Wonderkids that way, because the best of the best will get called up to those national squads. Before we get into some specific filters to find Wonderkids straight away in your save, let's talk about the other common method where a lot of people find their Wonderkids, which I can't really showcase right now because of the date that we're on here at the 31st of May. But if you go towards the end of March, early April, in every single season of your save, you will see the Next Gen Award. If you don't know what this is, it's when the game will give you basically the top 50 Wonderkids, or at least what they rank as the top 50 Wonderkids in world football. Obviously, a lot of these players will play for the biggest clubs in the world, but if you can find the ones that you haven't heard of, maybe they're still playing in lower down divisions, you can make some good deals for them and find them early on before the big clubs do. If you've played FM for more than one season, you'll know exactly which news article this is. It's one of the best ones that you get in game. It basically scouts all the best Wonderkids for you, and it will tell you if there's any players labelled as, say, the next Neymar, the next Mario Gomez, whoever it is. You can find some stars that way. Like I say, can't showcase it here, but I think a lot of you will know what I'm talking about when I say the Next Gen Award. Either way though, if you don't, end of March, early April, check out all 50 players in that list, scout them all, and you might find yourself a gem. But now we get onto the methods I love showing you guys, because I know we'll get so many comments of people saying, I had no idea that was something in the game, and we like bringing you these kind of things. Now I will say, I don't use these methods myself because I think it's a little bit unrealistic. I like to use only the players that my scouts bring to me, but this is for you guys that like to use the players in range tab. All of these methods would still apply to the scouted players tab. It's just going to be a lot less effective. But anyway, the players in range tab, if you didn't know, draws through every single player in world football, or at least within your scouting range. If you've got it set to world, it will be every single player in your save. If you set it to just Central Europe, for example, you'll get only players in Central Europe. For this method to work best, you want to set it to world. You can change this back as soon as you're done, should you want to, with this method. Then you're going to look for players that are interested in a transfer to your club. I like to select doubtful when I do this from this cog, because it means any player that at least has a slight bit of interest in joining us will come up here. And there's a good chance even those players that are doubtful of joining you, you can still convince to join you. This doesn't just show doubtful players, by the way, it will show players with doubtful interest or higher. So don't worry about that. We're not only seeing doubtful options here. That's left just over 11,000 players in our database, but of course we're only looking for Wonderkids. So let's narrow down our search to say 18-year-olds. Let's do that, for example. You could easily go to 19, 20-year-olds as well, but that's what we're going to go for here. Now that's left 1,905 players within our range. Now I'm going to go through a few different filters that you can use to find Wonderkids very quickly. The first one was brought to my attention by RDF a couple of years ago in a video that he did. If you haven't checked out RDF's content, it is great over here on YouTube, so make sure you check out RDF Tactics. But we're going to go down to General, and then we're going to go down to World Reputation. We're then going to set this at a level of Decent. We're going to tinker with this a little bit later on, but we are saying their World Reputation is at least least decent. We're then going to go ahead and click this info button here. What that is going to do is filter players together based on the icon that they have on their left hand side. So you'll see if we scroll down, everyone on a youth contract is near each other, everyone that's asking for a transfer is near each other, but what we're looking for is these players with wanted signs. What you can then do is go through and select these wanted signs and see the players that are wanted by big clubs. For example, George Rivera here is wanted by some of the biggest teams in the world, so it's a good chance he's a good player. You can go ahead, scout him, you've found a wonder kid very, very easily. Now, if you found someone that was wanted by a club that maybe isn't so special, let's take this guy here, Kai David Hyun. He's still probably a good player, but he's only wanted by Mainz and Freiburg, so I wouldn't really consider him the best of the best wonder kids. But if we find this guy, Jork Cordoba, he's wanted by Chelsea and Liverpool. Andres Angulo is wanted by Liverpool, Newcastle and PSG. Daniel Caminos is wanted by some Portuguese sides. This is a great time to now go ahead and scout these players very easily. From here, you can then lower that world reputation a little bit more. That's going to bring a lot more players through, and that is the reason why we did filter on world reputation before, just to lower the amount of players that we had to look at. A little tip as well, if you hit the info button again, it will rise to the top players with certain info. For example, everyone on international duty is next to each other. You can now see when we go to the wanted section, there's a load more players that are wanted because we've lowered that world reputation filter a little bit more, and then there's more wonder kids for you guys to check out. So that's one method you can use. The next filter is one that was brought to us in a comment last year. Like I say, we do use your guys' comments to help us with these videos. It's a great little filter that you can put on. All that we've done here is yet again look for players interested in a transfer between the ages of 15 and 18. We've gone to international and then international caps. We're then going to go ahead and set this to at least 1. This is going to bring through 54 players that have played for their international team. Now, there's a good chance this guy, for example, Chadwick Curry, he might not be great because he has got an international appearance, but it is for the Bahamas. But if you go and find someone that's, say, playing for the Romanian national team already, he could be pretty good. We've got someone here who's played for the Ukrainian national team already at a young age. He could be a good player. That's not to rule out these players that are, say, playing for the Honduran national team. There's more of a chance the players that are playing for those big nations already, it's likely that they're going to be pretty decent players. Again, if you want to, you can go to general and add world reputation into the mix and put that to, say, nominal. That will only bring through the players that are really starting to become well known. Again, by doing so, we've been able to find some decent players here who could be wonder kids worth scouting. There's no guarantee these players will be good, but it does help narrow down our search. Now, that same comment did say, if you're looking for players a little bit older, let's say 18 to 21, do the exact same thing, but then go ahead and set their international cap limit to, say, 5 to 10. So we'll start it off at 6. Let's go for that. That then brings through 110 players under the age of 21 who already have international caps. I'm now going to change that world reputation to decent, and that brings us back 99 players who have a decent world reputation and are playing for their national team on a regular basis. Again, a Guatemalan player, is he really going to be that good? But if we keep looking, eventually we might find someone like Kevin Douglas here who already has 6 appearances for the Scottish national team. He could be a decent player worth scouting. No guarantee any of these will be, but there's a good chance they are talented. Here's an Ecuadorian keeper. He's already playing for Atletico de Madrid. Obviously, the older the player, the more likely it is that they have moved to a bigger club, but still a very easy way to find wonder kids with a few button clicks. And for our final method, it's again another filter that will help you find wonder kids. You don't have to do all of these. You can just pick a specific one that you like doing. This one I think is the most game breaking of the lot. It's something that you might not even know is in the game, but I'll explain it to you now. What we're going to do is we're going to customize this view of the players that we're looking at here. You can see we have their name, their club, their position, their age, and all the other extra information on the side there. We're now going to go to custom and then customize current view. We're then going to go down to media description. If we scroll all the way down here, there you go, media description. We're then going to click this button to say add. That's then going to drag media description onto our view when we click OK. So if I now scroll across, so now if you look at the right hand of the screen, we can see every single player's media description in the game. Now, if we go ahead and switch this to players who are under the age of 21, but over the age of, let's say, 17, we'll now be able to narrow down all of the players that have a media description of Wonder Kid. Now, the reason I'm actually going to select 18 here is that most of the time, players won't be labelled as a Wonder Kid in-game until they are that age of 18 to 20, somewhere in that region. If you've got a 16-year-old with a lot of talent and a lot of potential, he doesn't usually get labelled as a Wonder Kid until he is a little bit older. That's not a hard and fast rule, but it's what we're going to do here to narrow down our search. So we're looking for 18 to 20-year-olds interested in a transfer, and as you can see, we've got media descriptions all in a random order. Now, you could go through, scroll through all of them until you find the Wonder Kids, or the easiest thing is if you click the name media description, it will then filter it in alphabetical order for us. So attacking fullback starting with an A is at the top, and of course we want Wonderkids, so if we click this again, it will then reverse the alphabetical order. So we've got young winger, we're going to keep scrolling down now until that changes to Wonderkid. And eventually, after about 10 seconds or so of scrolling, we have got to the point where we found all of the players labelled as a Wonderkid interested in a transfer. So you could go ahead and scout all of these guys now. As you can see, we are getting a ton of different options here. There's probably about 30 players there that we can look at. Let's have a look. If we highlight all of them, we have got 31 players ready for a scout report labelled as a Wonderkid in game that will be willing to join us. You can then filter that by price when you find the scout reports come through, and before you know it, you'll be able to find a player that is maybe not playing in the best team in the world. Take that player there, for example, playing in the Argentinian divisions, not yet picked up by any big clubs, but looks to be a fantastic centre-back that we have found very easily using this method. So with that filter shown, there are plenty of methods there for you to try and find Wonderkids in your save. Some of the obvious methods, some are methods that you might not have heard of, or at least didn't even know the filters existed to allow you to do these methods. Some slightly more realistic than others, so feel free to choose the ones that you want to use. There's no right or wrong way to play Football Manager. Whichever way you like to play, feel free to use it. But there you go, that is how to find Wonderkids in your save. If you did enjoy, smash the like button for me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.